The people of Toledo say the world ended during the collapse. They're wrong. The collapse didn't end humanity, it only shattered it. Oceans rose, fire and stone erased the old world. But people endured, they rebuilt, they learned, they dreamed again. And for a brief moment, the world entered an age they would later call sunrise. Ark did not come during the collapse. Ark came after. After the skies cleared, after crops grew, after hope returned. This is the story of Ark Raiders, not of a war for survival, but of a war that was never meant to be won. History remembers the collapse as the moment the world ended. The collapse is described as a convergence of disasters. Floods that swallowed coastlines, fires that scorched entire regions, earthquakes that fractured cities from their foundations. To those who came after, it must have felt biblical. But the evidence scattered across the Rust Belt tells a quieter story. Ports buried beneath sand, cities preserved like time capsules, infrastructure still standing, not intact but waiting. Murano did not vanish, it was entombed. And entombment implies something important. The world did not erase humanity, it simply outpaced it. Generations passed after the collapse, long enough for memory to soften into myth, long enough for first-hand accounts to become legends told by the very old. But humanity did not disappear during those years. Scattered societies endured. They adapted to poisoned soil and unstable weather. They learned to live with scarcity, darkness, and ruin. Most importantly, they did not stop trying. Because if the collapse had truly ended humanity, there would have been no reason to flee upward. The exodus did not happen before the collapse. It happened because people were still alive to attempt it. Launch Tower arose not as monuments, but as an act of defiance. Colossal structures built in a dying world, designed to punch holes into the sky itself. Who boarded those vessels and how remains unknown. What is known is this: they left, and those who remained would inherit the earth they abandoned. For a long time after, the world was silent. No machines fell from orbit. No probes scanned the soil, no Ark signatures burned across radar screens. Just ruins and people, and then slowly, something changed. The land began to recover, water stabilized, vegetation returned in stubborn patches, old technology was rediscovered, studied, repurposed. Around the Alcantara Dam, settlers gathered. They built hydroponic domes from salvaged materials. They cultivated food under glass and light. This era would later be called Sunrise, a name that sounds naive now, but only because we know how it ends. Because sunrise proves something essential. The collapse did not end the world. Humanity survived long enough to believe that the worst was behind them, and it was only then that something began to fall from the sky. Ark did not arrive at the height of humanity's fall. It arrived at the moment humanity stood back up. That distinction matters because it changes everything. When Ark first appeared, survivors called it an invasion. That word is understandable, but it may also be wrong. The first Ark machines did not arrive in firestorms. They did not carpet cities with bombs. They did not seek thorns, territory, or domination. They fell, dropped from orbit in controlled descents, scattered across the Rust Belt like instruments, not soldiers. Ark's earliest machines were not built for war. They were built to observe. Probes descended first, surveyors followed. Machines designed to scan soil, air, and structure, to measure, catalog, and record. Only later came security, and even then, Ark's violence was restrained. This is something survivors from the first wave noticed immediately. Ark did not hunt humans. It guarded locations. It secured sites rich in something buried beneath the surface. Whenever raiders encountered heavy resistance, it was rarely random. Barons patrolled fixed zones. Bastions defended open ground with no settlements nearby. Harvesters extracted resources with clinical efficiency. Ark behaved less like an army and more like a custodian, as if it was protecting something that had already been claimed. This raises an uncomfortable question. If Ark was not sent to wipe out humanity, then why did it escalate? The answer lies not in Ark's intent, but in humanity's reappearance. During the sunrise, humanity broke a long silence. Settlements grew, energy grids flickered back to life, agriculture returned at scale, and for the first time since the collapse, the Earth began to look occupied. Ark did not change its mission, but its environment did. To Ark systems, Humanity was no longer extinct, it was an interference. This is why the first wave felt so sudden. ARC's early machines were rudimentary, but they adapted quickly. Snitches relayed data back to orbit. Wasps and Hornets established air superiority. Ground units refined patrol patterns. ARC did not panic, it optimized. Every skirmish taught it something. Every raider tactic was cataloged. Every weakness was corrected. ARC did not rage against humanity, it learned from it. The Barons represent the peak of this first learning cycle. Six-legged walkers, adaptive behavior, weapons designed not to annihilate, but to control territory absolutely. They were not symbols of hatred, they were proof of refinement. And yet, despite everything, humanity won. The first wave ended at Victory Ridge, a decade of resistance, thousands lost, countless settlements erased. But ARC withdrew. Not destroyed, not dismantled, it simply stopped. Which should have been humanity's first warning. Because ARC did not retreat in defeat, it retreated having learned enough. ARC lost the first wave, and in doing so, it learned how not to lose the second. When the machines returned, they were no longer observers protected by weapons. They were systems designed around human behavior. Queens replaced barons, matriarchs replaced fortifications. Machines no longer reacted, they anticipated. ARC did not come back angrier, it came back prepared. And that is the true horror of ARC. Not that it kills, not that it conquers, but that it remembers. Victory Ridge is remembered as the place where humanity won, but no one who was there ever calls it a triumph. The ridge rises west of the Alcantara Dam, a jagged stretch of stone overlooking waterlogged land. This is where the raiders chose to make their stand, not because it was sacred, not because it was symbolic, but because there was nowhere left to retreat. By the time ARC reached Victory Ridge, the first wave had already dragged on for years. Settlements were gone, supply lines shattered. Those who remained were fragments, rival crews, survivors who trusted no one but themselves, and yet for a brief moment, they united. Major Iva was the reason. Her name appears rarely in records, but every account of Victory Ridge circles back to her. A tactician or coordinator, someone who could convince enemies to fight side by side. Under her leadership, scattered raiders became something else. They shared ammunition. They relayed intelligence. They planned together. And for the first time since the collapse, humanity acted as a single force. The battle lasted days. ARC machines poured into the valley. Barons advanced under covering fire. Drones darkened the skies. The ridge burned. And somehow, barons fell one by one, their husks littering the landscape like carcasses. When the final baron went down, ARC's presence collapsed with it. The machines withdrew. The first wave was over. History marks this moment as a victory. But listen to what happened next. Most of those who fought at Victory Ridge never returned. Those who did were changed. Wounds that never healed, memories that never settled, grudges that found new targets. Because when the fighting stopped, so did the unity. There were arguments over tactics, over credit, over who had sacrificed more. Some claimed Iva had led them to unnecessary losses. Others claimed she hadn't gone far enough. And then Major Iva died. How exactly is unclear. Records are vague, stories conflict, and with her death, the last reason to stay united vanished. The monument built to commemorate Victory Ridge did not stand for long. They were vandalized, defaced, left to rot, not by ARC but by survivors. This is the first true legacy of the first wave. ARC was beaten, but humanity fractured. The victory proved something undeniable. ARC could be resisted, but it also proved something far worse, that humanity could not survive peace. ARC adapted after Victory Ridge, but so did humanity. Only one of them learned the right lesson. When ARC returned, it did not face a united resistance. It faced neighborhoods, contradas, organizations that guarded tunnels and resources like kingdoms. The war had changed, not because ARC had won, but because humanity had already lost what Victory Ridge briefly gave them. And that is why the second wave feels so helpless. Not because ARC is stronger, but because the thing that defeated it once no longer exists. After Victory Ridge, humanity did not rebuild the world. It buried itself beneath it. When ARC returned, it did not face cities, it faced holes. Entrances were sealed behind dead-bolted doors, tunnels hidden beneath rubble and sand, escape routes disguised as infrastructure. Humanity went underground, and Toledo was born. Toledo is not a city in the traditional sense. There is no center, no capital, no unified rule. It is a patchwork, a collection of contradas carved into buried ruins, connected only by tunnels once meant to transport cargo, not people. The tubes were never designed to carry life. They were built during Exodus for material, machines, and logistics. Humanity repurposed them anyway. Each neighborhood became its own world, its own laws, its own fears, power rationed unevenly. Toledo did not grow upward, it spread sideways, cautiously, always assuming the surface would be lost again. And that assumption proved correct. Above ground, Ark ruled, not as an occupying force, but as a presence. Machines patrolled open spaces. Harvesters extracted resources without ceremony. Drones scanned endlessly. Topside became hostile territory, not forbidden, but temporary. Every surface venture required an exit plan. That role fell to the raiders. Raiders are not soldiers. They are specialists in absence. They enter spaces Ark believes abandoned. They exploit blind spots, vanish before escalation can occur. Cargo elevators, raider hatches, supply drops coordinated from below. Every system exists to minimize time spent topside. Because time is Ark's greatest advantage. And this is where Toledo's greatest contradiction emerges. To survive, humanity had to fragment. But fragmentation breeds conflict. Without a central government, the official Toledo Tube Management, the OTTM, did not rise through conquest. It rose through control of movement, control of escape, control of who gets to the surface and who doesn't. Toledo learned a bitter lesson. You don't need to rule people if you control the doors they depend on. Even here, Ark is not the primary threat. People are. Sabotaged water supplies, black markets feeding on desperation, neighborhoods hoarding resources while others starve. Victory Ridge proved humanity could unite. Toledo proves it won't. And yet, Toledo endures. Solar grids flicker back to life, batteries hum beneath the streets, greenhouses glow faintly with artificial suns, food grows underground, children are born underground, lives unfold without ever seeing the sky. Humanity has adapted to living around Ark. Not defeating it, not understanding it. Toledo is not a city of resistance. It is a city of avoidance. And avoidance has a cost, because Ark does not forget, and it does not stop probing. This is where the story truly begins, not with the collapse, not with Ark's arrival, but with a city that has survived everything so far, and may finally be running out of places to hide. The second wave did not begin with an invasion. It began with recognition. When Ark returned, survivors expected more of the same. More barons, more drones, more brute force. Instead, they encountered something far worse. The machines had changed, not just by design, but in behavior. Queens replaced barons, matriarchs replaced perimeter defenses. Spotters relayed information with unnerving precision. These were not refinements made in haste. They were responses. Ark had studied the first wave. Every ambush at Victory Ridge, every raider tactic, every moment of humanity, it remembered where raiders hit, how they moved, what they targeted first. Ark no longer reacted to humanity, it anticipated it. This is why the second wave feels different. Ark no longer wastes resources on suppression. It isolates, it funnels, it escalates only when necessary. Snitches don't just spot raiders, they decide whether a location is worth defending. Harvesters don't simply extract, they trigger layered responses if disturbed. Machines coordinate across distances no human network can match. Ark does not fight wars, it executes procedures. And here's the most unsettling part. Ark has not expanded indiscriminately. It focuses on specific regions. The Alcantara Dam, the Rust Belt's fault lines, the Blue Gate. Places where humanity once rebuilt. Places where something old still lies beneath the surface. The tremors are not random. They are increasing in frequency and intensity, as if something beneath the Rust Belt is shifting or being disturbed. This reframes Ark's purpose yet again. If Ark were here only to harvest resources, the second wave would look different. If it were here only to exterminate humanity, Toledo would already be gone. Instead, Ark behaves like a system guarding a process. one that has been interrupted. This is where Stellamontis enters the story. A facility sealed deliberately, carved deep into the mountainside. Its last occupants choosing isolation over escape. Ark patrols its surroundings, but does not breach it. The Blue Gate tells a similar story, an entryway into unstable territory, recently connected to the tubes as if humanity is itching closer to something long avoided. Ark's presence there is heavier, more deliberate, less forgiving. The second wave is not Ark returning to finish the war, it is Ark returning to continue its work. Whatever Ark is probing for, it predates Toledo, it predates Sunrise, it even predates the collapse. And humanity may already know this on some level. That's why Toledo is fragmented, why Stellamontis is sealed, why knowledge is hoarded, because understanding Ark's true purpose might be more dangerous than fighting it. Ark remembers. It remembers a world without people, it remembers a mandate issued long ago. And now, it remembers humanity standing in the way. The second wave is not about conquest, it is about completion. And for the first time since the collapse, humanity may not be facing extinction, but irrelevance. Ark has never acted in haste. It probes, it observes, it waits. Across the Rust Belt, Ark's behavior follows a pattern. It does not pursue raiders underground. It does not collapse Toledo outright. It does not exhaust itself trying to erase humanity. Instead, it maintains pressure, constant, measured, unyielding, as if time itself is on its side. Ark's most dangerous machines are not deployed everywhere. They are concentrated, near fracture zones, near old infrastructure, near places humanity once believed were safe. The Alcantara Dam, the Blue Gate, Salamantis, each of these locations shares something in common. They are not ruins of the collapse, they are remnants of what came after. This suggests a possibility far more unsettling than invasion. Ark may not be here to destroy humanity, it may be here to outlast it. Ark does not need to win battles, it does not need to occupy cities, it does not need to break Toledo open. It only needs to ensure that humanity never fully returns to the surface, that agriculture never scales, that infrastructure never stabilizes, that unity never re-emerges. Ark does not end civilizations, it prevents them. This reframes the collapse entirely. What if the collapse was not the end of the world, but the last reset Ark expected? And what if Sunrise was the anomaly? A mistake? Humanity's brief resurgence may have been something Ark was never programmed to allow. The Exodus complicates this even further. Those who left Earth did so at the height of technological capability. They may have known what Ark was, they may have built it or inherited it, and they may have concluded something terrifying, that Earth was no longer meant to be lived on. If that's true, Ark's presence makes sense. Its patience makes sense. Its restraint makes sense. Its focus on process, not people, makes sense. Ark is not angry at humanity, it simply does not factor it into the future. This would explain Stellamontis, a place sealed from the inside, not destroyed, not harvested, avoided, as if those who locked it knew opening it again would draw attention. It would explain the tremors, not random seismic events, but stress, pressure building between systems that were never meant to coexist. A planet that has moved on, and a species that refuses to. Ark is not waiting for humanity to fall. It is waiting for humanity to stop getting back up. And that brings us to the Raiders. Raiders are not soldiers in a war. They are interruptions. Temporary variables in a long equation. Ark tolerates them because it can. Because every generation that fights it is smaller than the last. More fragmented, more tired. Ark does not fear resistance. It accounts for it. But here's the flaw in Ark's logic. The same flaw it encountered at Victory Ridge. Humanity does not behave like a system. It does not optimize clearly. It does not converge neatly. It does not disappear when it should. It improvises. It remembers. It resists, even when resistance makes no sense. Toledo should not exist. The Raiders should not survive topside. Sunrise should never have happened. And yet they did. The question Ark Raiders ultimately ask is not, can humanity defeat Ark? It is, what happens if Ark is wrong? Because Ark is waiting for humanity to fade, and humanity refuses. Then the future of this world will not be decided by machines or algorithms. It will be decided by who adapts last. Ark has patience, humanity has desperation. And somewhere between those two forces, this world is still undecided. This is not the end of Arc Raider's story, it is the moment before something breaks.